Good morning and welcome. I'm Dr. Jonathan Garino, the Pennsylvania Orthopedic Society's first Vice President. I want to thank you for attending this important event. Today we gather to advance legislation that will finally swing the metaphorical pendulum of the policies back toward patients and physicians who care for them and away from the powerful healthcare insurance industry. For far too long, healthcare insurers have had a free hand in delaying or denying medically necessary care to patients whose premiums have been fully paid. Thankfully, Representative Stephen Menser, Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill, Representative Brett Miller, and Representative Stephen Barrar, and all of the legislators gathered here today are standing with their constituent patients in this effort to stop excessive, inconsistent, and unnecessary pre-authorization. I would like to also acknowledge the presence of several patient care organizations, Kelly Beretta, Ray L. Brown of the National Eczema Association, and Rebecca King of the Hypersomnia Foundation. Simply stated, pre-authorization is an insurer's ability to delay or deny medically necessary care based upon their own criteria and despite the conclusions of a treating physician. In most instances, the pre-authorization process is carried out by a third-party administrator hired by the insurance company and whose compensation is often dependent upon reducing insurer costs. The third-party administrators usually accomplish this goal by denying care regardless of whether the treatment is a covered service or not. In many cases, an insurer or its third-party administrator will blame the doctor for delayed or denied care, claiming that the healthcare provider did not deliver in specific format information needed for approval. These specific formats can vary from insurer to insurer and have little relationship to the practice of medicine. The system is designed to delay or deny care, and healthcare insurers take no responsibility for the cumbersome and frankly obstructive pre-authorization process. This lack of insurer responsibility has had substantially negative impact on the patient-physician relationship and potentially on the efficient care of the patient. This abuse of patients and physicians must stop. With this in mind, it is my honor to introduce Lancaster County State Representative Stephen C. Menser, sponsor of House Bill 1194. Representative Menser has served the citizens of the 97th District in the state of the House of Representatives since 2013. Representative Menser is a longtime patient advocate and the physicians who serve them. As an elder at the Manheim Township's First Presbyterian Church, Representative Menser organized the Presbyterian Medical Equipment Delivery Project and led several teams of missionaries to collect donated medical and surgical supplies from United States hospitals and redistribute them to needy third world countries. His commitment to patients runs deep, and we welcome him here today, Representative Menser.
Thank you, Dr. Marino, and thank you for acknowledging my work in Central America. I've been up here for so long I kind of forgot that I've been down there. And it's great to have Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill with us today. We're going to hear a little bit more from her a little bit later, but she and I have been working on this issue. You know, this is a real opportunity for us to make a difference in the lives of many of our constituents by improving access to medical care. Pre-authorization was initially designed to reduce unnecessary costs placed on insurers and providers. It has been 20 years since there's been an update to Act 68 of the insurance law concerning pre-authorization and the process to appeal pre-authorization decisions. Over the past 20 years, and most notably over the past 5 years, the current pre-authorization process has developed into an expansive process that is now interfering with many patient-provider relationships. Many times, insurers insert a third party into the decision-making process. Over the course of the last several months, I've spent a great deal of time listening to patient advocate groups, providers, provider advocate groups, hospitals, and insurance companies, and most importantly, my constituents. I think everyone can agree the process can be improved. We have gone through many meetings and many drafts of this bill since the last version was introduced a session ago to try to get it right. The intent of this legislation, HB 1194, is to create a clear definitions, notice requirements, and processes for determining the pre-authorization process. This will allow for greater communication between providers and insurers when dealing with medical treatment and testing. By no means is HB 1194 designed to eliminate the pre-authorization process. What it is designed to do, though, is to ensure patient-provider relationships remain paramount when making decisions on course of treatment. I'd like to thank all those who participated in the stakeholder process with me, including all our speakers here today. I want to thank the co-sponsors of the bill who have joined me on this important issue, recognizing that patients must always be our focus. We will continue to work to return the healthcare decision-making process back to the focus on the patient-provider relationship. Thank you very much, and now we'll hear from Senator Phillips-Hill.
Well, thank you to everyone for being here today, and thank you so much to Representative Menser for all of your hard work and your leadership in the House. This is not the first time that Representative Menser and I have worked on an important health care issue to the benefit of our constituents, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to Dr. Garino for holding this important event this morning, and to all of the providers and patient advocates and members who are taking time out of their busy schedules to be here today. Again, I'm State Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill, and I have the pleasure of representing the 28th District, which covers the southern half of York County. And Senate Bill 920 and House Bill 1194 will, as Representative Menser say, streamline and standardize the process for prior authorization of medical services in Pennsylvania. All too often, the prior authorization process is inefficient, and it increases costs for providers and their patients. Not only that, the administrative hurdles that providers have to constantly go through impede on the quality of care that they have to give to each and every one of their patients. The practice of medicine has drastically changed. It's very different than it was just 10 years ago. And there are far more regulatory barriers and administrative obstacles that make it much more challenging for physicians to do their jobs. Every day, physicians' job is to provide care for people in Pennsylvania. We would not be doing our job as legislators if we did not recognize and remove those burdens, allowing physicians to take care of their patients and not paperwork. Physicians are caring for our families, for our friends, for our neighbors, and maybe most importantly, for our constituents. Quality and timely care is what each and every one of us expects and what we deserve. But that quality and timely care can be difficult without a standardized process or definition for prior authorization or procedures. This legislation would improve transparency, accessibility, and the consistent application of prior authorization by including a standard definition across the board. It will also significantly streamline the process by requiring insurers to make electronic communication available so that requests, authorizations, and adverse determinations can all be submitted or returned electronically. Excessive healthcare insurer prior authorization requirements can lead to a delay or denial of medically necessary care, and patients should not be forced to worry about whether a procedure that they have obtained approval for is going to be paid for. The simple truth is that if an insurance company says yes to a treatment, then it should be paid for. These bills ensure that patients can rely on those decisions. And I want to make a point very clear, and Representative Menser said it as well. These bills do not eliminate or abolish prior authorization. These bills simply return the meaning of prior authorization back to what it was intended to be, a way to cut back on unnecessary or highly risky procedures and protect against the potential for fraud. These bills, again, are intended to increase efficiency, reduce cost, maximize quality and timely care for patients in Pennsylvania, and they make common sense improvements to an already important part of our law. Again, thank you to all of our hardworking medical professionals who have joined us here today. Thank you for your advocacy, for your fellow healthcare providers, to ensure that they can provide the best possible care for all of our Pennsylvania patients. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'd like to welcome Senator Collette and Representative Grove, who have also joined our group and who are co-sponsors of this important legislation. At this time, I'd like to shift gears very slightly and introduce Mr. Ross Weitzman. He's an individual who lives in Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania, and he will be telling us about how a prior authorization delay nearly cost him his life and led to a six-figure hospital stay earlier this year. Mr. Weitzman.
Thank you. All right. So it's December 2018, and I'm what most people would consider to be healthy for 48. I exercise 4 to 6 days a week, 30 to 90 minutes at a shot. But I have mild squeezing chest pain, so I go to see my general practitioner. My only scary biometric is that I have a recent spike in cholesterol. He refers me on to a cardiologist, Dr. Mendel. I now know that at that time I was suffering from what's called angina. Angina occurs when you have blood flow restriction to the heart resulting from a partial occlusion or blockage in a coronary artery. I also now know that these angina symptoms typically start when you're about 60 to 70%, an artery is 60 to 70% blocked. So over the next 4 months, I work with Dr. Mendel to eliminate certain non-cardiovascular causes of my issue, such as acid reflux. And I do have a lot of stress in my life, so it's entirely plausible that this is acid reflux or even just in my mind. Seeing Dr. Mendel, in my view, was really peace of mind insurance. The week before Memorial Day, I go to visit Dr. Mendel, and I report that I am getting some relief from these chest pains from some of the meds he prescribed. We talk further, and we both agree that I should get a heart catheterization procedure. Later that same exact day, he calls very agitated. He had been on a call for 40 minutes with an insurance company who was denying my procedure. The basis, I was too healthy. Less than 72 hours later, I have 2 very unusual angina attacks. My face is ashen gray. My wife rushes me to the ER, and they find nothing wrong with me, not even a sign that I've ever had a heart attack. As a precaution, they keep me overnight. And let me tell you, the next morning, I felt awesome. I was ready to get launched back into a great, busy Memorial Day weekend. The cardiologist I saw had different ideas, and so I reluctantly was forced to stay in the hospital. And I'm not happy. I'm angry. The insurance company has already cleared me of these issues. Why would they clear me of something that put me at more critical risk? The cardiologists, in my view, were just being overprotective at expense of a really good Memorial Day weekend. So I finally get into this heart cath lab, and when I am leaving the cath lab, they tell me how fortunate I am. I had a 99% blockage in my LAD and an 80% blockage in my left circumflex. So if you don't know about the LAD, a 100% blockage is affectionately called the widowmaker, because once you're at that point, you have about 30 minutes to get saved or you die. So if my LAD is 60 to 70% blocked back in December, that implies that my arteries are closing at a rate of 10 to 15% a month, or 2 to 4% per week. 2 to 4% per week. And I think back on this insurance company that was content delaying my procedure by weeks. It's emotionally sobering. I was fortunate. I was fortunate that I had those 2 symptomatic attacks that sent me to the ER, that I had good cardiologists, and that I actually listened to them. And then I start to think about the contrarian feedback from this insurance company. I can understand why Dr. Mendel was so agitated that day on the call when my procedure was denied. Now, I want to share some financial aspects of this. I mean, surely there was a lot of money at hand, and this is why this happened, right? My heart cath procedure cost $600. My company sends $900 to the insurance company every single month to protect me from health care. It begs the question, what price do these insurance companies put on our lives? $600? Not only that, but this procedure, the whole entire hospital stay cost 33 times more than it otherwise would have under insurance if I had the originally prescribed procedure. So in summary, I want to share 3 points that underscore what these insurance companies are doing. First, they're very much willing to ignore the 10 years of medical training that a cardiologist receives and all the follow-on practical experience they gain. 2, they're very much willing to gamble with my insurance premiums and every single one of your insurance premiums that you're sending every single month to save money, risking your life for as little as $600. And 3, their myopic greed is contributing to the ever-expanding cost of healthcare that we hear about in the news every single day. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Ross. I'd like to also welcome Senator Judy Ward to this event. I'd like to now turn to my physician colleagues to address this important legislation as well. First up is Mary Stock-Keister, who is the president of the Pennsylvania Academy of Family Physicians. The family physicians have been a driving force in this legislative effort. I welcome Dr. Keister to speak.
Thank you. And thank you, Senator Phillips-Hill and Representative Menser, for your leadership on this issue. As mentioned, I'm Mary Stock-Keister, a practicing family physician and president of the Pennsylvania Academy of Family Physicians. On behalf of the Academy's nearly 6,000 family physician, resident, and medical student members, I'm honored to be here in support of Senate Bill 920 and House Bill 1194. The fact is, pre-authorization requirements by insurers have become overly burdensome, often jeopardizing patient care by hindering or altering treatments and causing additional barriers between patients and their healthcare providers. A 2018 survey of Pennsylvania family physicians found that pre-authorizations result in delays in patient care nearly 98% of the time. And whether that delay is only as inconvenient as a second trip to the pharmacy because of a change in approved drug coverage, or the delay is more meaningful, preventing the escalation of care needed for a worsening health problem, the end result is that patients, our patients, people, are failing to benefit from the very coverage they depend on to keep them well. And this can't go on. I ask for your support of Senate Bill 920 and House Bill 1194 to ensure timely, quality care for all Pennsylvanians. Patients deserve the right care at the right time, determined by their physicians and not by their insurance companies. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague and fellow family physician, Larry John, the president of the Pennsylvania Medical Society.
Good morning. Quite a compelling story told by Ross and told in such an articulate way. I don't know that we could have a better representative for the problem that we face with prior authorization. I'm Lawrence R. John, president of the Pennsylvania Medical Society and a family physician from Pittsburgh. The Pennsylvania Medical Society represents more than 22,000 physicians, medical students, practice administrators throughout Pennsylvania. As physicians, we take an oath to do no harm. Unfortunately, as insurance companies require prior authorization, more critical tests, more medications, and more procedures it puts on patients and puts them at risk. 1 out of 4 doctors said in a national survey earlier this year that delays from prior authorizations have led to serious adverse events for their patients. This is inexcusable, and it must be fixed. I stand here today to thank Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill and Representative Mentzer for their leadership in attempting to reform prior authorization in Pennsylvania. Let me be clear, we are not asking to eliminate prior authorization. What we are asking for is a process to become more efficient, less time-consuming, and helping physicians make better use of their times and their medical staffs. We are making an appeal to the insurance companies that this is an onerous process and it must be stopped. Senate Bill 920 and House Bill 1194 address many of these issues that will help decrease wait time for patients and lessen the burden on the medical professions and their staffs. In October 2018, Governor Tom Wolf brokered a deal with every major insurance company in our state to remove the prior authorization requirement to treat patients with opioid use disorder. This happened out of a commitment to remove barriers for patients who are suffering from illness of addiction. Conditions like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, lung conditions, arthritis deserve prompt treatment and the minimal delays from prior authorizations as well. The burden of their diseases deserve the same attention. Passage of this legislation could ensure that those patients receive the timely care they deserve as well. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce next Warren Camp, former state representative and now representing Hospital Association of Pennsylvania. Warren.
Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as the doctor said, I work for the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania. I'm the Senior Vice President for Advocacy and External Affairs. Our association represents virtually all the hospitals of Pennsylvania, some 240 buildings. They're either independent or parts of health systems, and there are 140 members to the association. Combined, we have more than 300,000 employees all across Pennsylvania. We, too, are grateful for the leadership of Representative Mentzer and Senator Phillips-Hill on this prior authorization reform bill. As you've heard from the other speakers today, prior authorization isn't a far-fetched concept. It is a real problem that affects real people. Each and every day, Pennsylvania's patients, physicians, nurses, and hospital staff spend hours and hours jumping through hoops and navigating this red tape. Some patients can be forced to delay necessary treatment, as we've heard, because they can't get approval. Others who receive emergency care can be denied by their insurance companies because someone far away has said that they did not need to receive the care that was provided. Take this real story from a Pennsylvania patient. For 3 days, a 48-year-old woman had a fever that spiked as high as 103. Her condition got so bad that she fainted and was admitted to the hospital. She ended up needing daily IV medications for 9 days. Multiple people assessed this patient. Her care plan wasn't a one-off decision, yet her insurance company denied her claim, saying it was not medically necessary. Even after exhausting all of her appeals, the denial was upheld. What does that mean? Thanks to excessive red tape and the decisions of people who are not familiar with her case, her care was not covered by her insurance. The physicians here today would tell you that losing consciousness is a medically necessary reason to need treatment. This patient should never have been denied coverage for her care, and nobody should have had to spend hours arguing with an insurance company about her claim. We have a chance to fix this problem. These bills are common sense measures to make sure that patients are getting the care they need when they need it, and staff are not burdened with miles of red tape. Pennsylvania's hospitals thank Representative Menser and Senator Phillips-Hill for this important bill, and we encourage all lawmakers to act in the best interest of the patients and the people who care for them. Please pass this legislation. Thank you.
So in closing, I would like to once again thank Representative Menser, Senator Phillips-Hill, and all the other legislators who attended today. I also want to thank Ross Weitzman and my physician colleagues for giving us your time today as well. An old proverb states that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. We have many footfalls ahead to gain this legislation's enactment, but we are moving forward and will continue to do so. Thanks again for spending time with us. Thank you very much. My absolute pleasure.